Welcome back to the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. It is another beautiful Friday, this time September 26th. Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to our show today. I am, of course, joined by my friend and co-host, Caleb Carney. Welcome into the show. As he's here seemingly every single Friday now, there are a lot of big games to talk about. Last week, we started in college football, which we will get to, but we're going to start off in the NFL today. There is, of course, one NFL game that has already happened. That Thursday night football game, we saw the Seattle Seahawks win 23-20 in a game that they really should have won by a lot more. A brutal fourth quarter for them, a couple key mistakes, but at the end of the day, it came down to JSN making an incredible heads-up play, getting out of bounds so they could get into field goal range for Jason Myers, as well as Jason Myers hitting that kick, but preempted by a real bad kicking mistake by the Arizona Cardinals. Special teams has reared its ugly head week in, week out this year in the NFL, and I think that is a huge part of the game going forward, thanks to the dynamic kickoff, thanks to all of these new rules that are being put in place. I am a very, very big fan of these rules. But Caleb, talk to me a little bit about that Thursday night game. What'd you make of it in a big Seahawks win?
Marvin Harrison, man. You watch Marvin Harrison, and it was just this big deal of you're questioning whether or not Marvin Harrison still needs to be on an NFL roster. And then he comes out in the second half swinging. I mean, going for the hills, going for the end zone, catches a big touchdown for the Cardinals. But then it all comes down to special players, special teams, special.
Thursday, right? Big big game, big wins. Marvin Harrison did feel like he had a breakthrough, something we haven't really seen out of him in his NFL career so far. Hopefully that leads to more success. But that Cardinals team without James Conner, that's a tough look for them. Hopefully they can bounce back, but that was a win that I think kind of sealed where both of these teams are in division play. Seattle is clearly a contender, and I think Arizona is going to start to fall behind after two straight losses in a real competitive division. But enough about Thursday's game, Caleb. Enough about it. Let's get into our games on Sunday. We have a very big slate. We've already seen one of 16 games. There's going to be 13 games on Sunday, starting off with the very first early morning game over in Ireland, the second international game of the season. The Minnesota Vikings travel to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I guess they both travel cross country, but it is a home game for the Steelers on this one. 9:30 a.m. Eastern time in Dublin, Ireland. Minnesota favored by 2.5 points in this one. We saw Minnesota dominate the backup Jake Browning and the Bengals last week. Defense led by Isaiah Rodgers went and got 2 touchdowns, three turnovers forced by him. He was a menace out there. The best defensive game ever charted in the history of the NFL, according to PFF. That is quite the stat. Carson Wentz going to start again. I think this offense, it did enough. They didn't really have to rely on Carson Wentz, and the Pittsburgh Steelers defense has not been very good this season. On the other side, that Minnesota Vikings defense has been damn good. That is a real good Minnesota defense, and with Carson Wentz at the helm, I think that offense will be sturdy enough that they'll be able to take care of business against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They win big in this one. I'm feeling something like a 30-20 win for the Minnesota Vikings.
Man, I like the Vikings, but I don't have them winning that big. I've got a close game. I've got them 23-20. But the Vikings still do win.
No, there's definitely a way that I could see the Pittsburgh Steelers keeping it close, right? But Aaron Rodgers would have to have a really good game like he did in week 1, and I just don't know if he has the emotion against the Vikings the same way he did against the Jets to get that done. But let's move on to normal game time on Sunday. The Washington Commanders, an injured Commanders team, no Jaden Daniels, no Terry McLaurin, no big pieces on the defense as well. There's a couple big pieces that are missing over there versus an Atlanta team that's coming off of the first shutout of the season. They get shut out 30-0 against the Carolina Panthers of all teams. After that Jaden Daniels injury announced, the Falcons are now favored in this game. 1.5 points. being given to the Atlanta Falcons. I still think Marcus Mariota has a chance in this one. Atlanta's coming for blood after the way that game went. Michael Penix playing like a guy that has someone nipping at his heels, and he does in Kirk Cousins. We forget that Kirk Cousins still a very competent NFL quarterback, right? He's a guy that can come out and get things done. That Atlanta front, nothing at all to just dismiss the way that they've been playing football as of late, although we did see that Carolina team figure them out. Washington has a really good offensive line. Laramie Tunsil plays great football. Rookie Josh Connerly playing good. There's a chance they could get Sam Cosmi back. I don't think they will this week, but if he's there, it's going to be huge for them. Marcus Mariota also just put up 41 points on the Raiders. And I know the Raiders have a bad defense, but they also have Max Crosby. So he's been able to deal with a pass rush. Bill Krosky-Merritt injured. We're going to see a lot of Chris Rodriguez. I think Washington still finds a way to pull this out, but this is going to be a real tight game. I'm thinking a little bit low scoring with these two teams. I guess low scoring for Washington with a high-powered offense. I'm going 27-25. Washington gets the win.
That's a low-scoring game for you. That's a crazy take.
It's a low-scoring game for Washington.
Man, I've got the Falcons winning, but it's a 20-19 game. It's real close, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be to the end. But I do have the Falcons clearing it out.
You know, that game should be a lot of fun. I'm actually very excited. That's one of my games of the week. If I had to give a top 5, that one certainly is in there. One of these games that's not in there at all, in the slightest. The New Orleans Saints travel to Buffalo. And it's the fact that the Saints, potentially the worst team in the NFL, a team that I literally have as the worst team in the NFL, travel to on the road to play in Buffalo, Buffalo at home, Buffalo the best team that in the NFL, but in my opinion, line is 14.5 in favor of the Bills. Now that's a lot of points. It's not disrespectful though. The Saints lose 35-3. This game is going to get out of hand quickly. I'm taking the Bills in an absolute blowout.
Ooh, 35-3. Man, I at least gave them a touchdown. I've got 33-7. But I mean, I could see it happening. I mean, I tried to be kind, and I was like, they get a touchdown. But I mean, 35-3 is a crazy score. But I do have the Bills winning. I don't see any chance for the Saints here.
What world have we come to where we're calling a 26-point victory kind? Loss kind. It's going to be brutal out there. Who knows? Maybe they pull a Browns versus Packers, but they don't quite have that Browns defense like the Browns do. Buffalo rolls in this one. Speaking of another bad game, the Browns, aforementioned. Look at me with my transitions. That really elite defense travels on the road to play the Detroit Lions, coming off of one of the biggest wins of the season against the Ravens on Monday Night Football. Monty goes off. Jahmyr Gibbs goes off. Amon-Ra goes off. All of these guys go off. Jared Goff with a pretty solid game. NFL leading currently concurrent 200 yards in a row. That's just an automatic. Jared Goff throwing for over 200 yards, although it's in jeopardy against a really good Cleveland defense. They like to run the ball. Cleveland very good at stopping the run. We just saw them shut down Josh Jacobs. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think. Lions are favored by 10.5. I think it's going to be a gritty game. I think Cleveland's going to have a chance. I don't think they're going to get it done. Detroit's my survivor pick. I would pick the Bills, but I picked them last week. But Detroit is my survivor pick in this one. I think they win, but it's not going to be comfortable. Cleveland's going to be a feisty team this year with that elite defense. Detroit wins 20-13.
See, I've got the Browns losing 17-30. I do think this Lions team can clean up any team that they're coming across right now. I think the Lions have a good chance to go on a long winning streak here, but we'll just have to wait and see. I do have them beating the Browns pretty handily here.
Definitely. Again, I could see that one going either way. I really could. But I think Cleveland keeps this close. One that I really have a lot of trouble with, Caleb, Carolina at New England. These are two teams that I think are very similarly matched up, right? These are two teams that the Panthers and the Patriots could be really in the exact same spot. Now I have the Panthers slightly higher than the Patriots in my power ranking, so you kind of see the way that I have this going. Panthers at 20, Patriots at 23, but the Panthers coming out with a dominant victory last week. The Patriots looked like they wanted to lose that game, and they did. They lost that game. 5 turnovers, unacceptable. The Carolina defense came out swinging against Michael Penix. New England favored by 5.5 at home. I'm taking the upset. I'm taking the Cats. I'm taking the Panthers. This one, I really did go back and forth on, and I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be a little low scoring. As good as Drake May is, the rest of that team is not quite ready to keep up with him. I'm taking the Panthers 17-13.
So if you count, or if you don't count the game that just happened between the Seahawks and the Cardinals, Drake May is 5th in passing yards in the NFL right now. 5th. I have the Patriots beating the Panthers 21-24. It's going to be close. It's going to be a good game. I think it's a walk-off kind of kick game, kind of like we just saw with the Cardinals Seahawks. But we'll see.
I don't know. Like I said, I've gone back and forth on this one. That was the game that I had the hardest time picking out of every single game this week. But I got to ride with my gut, ride with my Panthers. I think they get it done. Big game next. Big game next, Caleb. Jackson Dart, his pro football starting debut at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Some are saying the best team in the NFL. Some are saying the best team in the AFC. Some are saying a Super Bowl contender. Some are saying a real threat. Now, I will say a real threat, potentially even a Super Bowl contender. This Chargers defense is no joke. The way that they're being coached by Jesse Minter, he is coaching himself into a job. Derwin James playing out of his mind football right now. Malik Neighbors, healthy. Big tick for the Giants. They needed that one. Cam Scatterbo, healthy. He is going to be a big tick in that game. He is going to cause problems. He is just a bowling ball. If anyone was a bowling ball, it would be him. Literally, that's his spirit animal. I don't think this game goes well. The Chargers favored by 6.5 points. Brian Dable hit the panic button, brought in Jackson Dart. God, do I want to pick the Giants. But everything in my mind, my soul, my body says this is not going to be a close game. Chargers win handily, 27-14.
So I also have the Chargers winning. I got them winning 21-10. I do think it'll be an all right game. I think Jackson Dart's just going in there for the experience. He's not going to do anything amazing, not going to blow us out of the water, not going to knock your socks off. It's just going to be one of those games that you just want to see him get through the game and you want to see him live to the next one. Just live. That's all he's got to do. Not tear anything, not break anything, survive.
I don't think he'll survive. He's a young guy. He can take a hit or two. Khalil Mack, not playing. That is a big get for them. If Andrew Thomas is going to be able to play not on a snap count, I do think they've got a little bit of a shot here. But that's my optimism speaking. And my optimism doesn't deserve to be in a place of objectiveness here, like we are on the Triple Threat Show, where, of course, Caleb, what are we? What are we, Caleb? No, we're never wrong. That's what we are. Game of the week, though. Game of the week, I do believe the Philadelphia Eagles travel down to Florida to take on Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs, who are 3-0. The Eagles, who are 3-0. The Bucs, who are 3-0 on 3 game-winning drives. No Mike Evans. Yes, Emeka Egbuka. Potentially Chris Godwin coming back this week. Potentially, and this is the biggest piece of the puzzle, potentially Tristan Wirfs back this week. If Tristan Wirfs plays, I think Tampa gets the win. I don't know. He's truly a game-time decision, according to Coach Todd Bowles. That's going to be the thing to watch. I reserve the right to change my pick if Tristan Wirfs is playing football. But assuming Tristan Wirfs is not playing football, the Philadelphia Eagles, who are favored by 3.5 points, find a way to win this game again. It's going to be close. I'm going 23-20. Philly gets a big win on the road.
Man, you know me. I love Baker Mayfield. I love the Buccaneers. I love them. Don't ask me why. I just think they're great. They're so much fun to watch. Egbuka is so much fun to watch. I mean, all of them. I don't care that Evans is out. I don't care if Wirfs is out. I think the Buccaneers win without him. I think they can do it. I think they're a good enough team. They're going to have to do it again. They're going to need a fourth game winning drive. They're going to have to. But I think they can win. Give me a score of 28-24.
Here's the thing I'll say with that. There's a real chance they win, but that Eagles defensive line is no joke. And if you don't have Tristan Wirfs, I pray for Baker Mayfield, who's going to play through an injury. He's playing through an injury right now, and it's not just like a brush it off kind of injury. It's a real injury. So that's something to watch out for. I don't think he's going to be 100% when it comes to scrambling, and I think Philly gets that job done. But from 3-0 versus 3-0 to 0-3 versus 0-3, the Tennessee Titans and Cam Ward travel to Houston to take on C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. Now, everyone is panicking about the Houston Texans. But let me tell you, if you consult my spreadsheet, the almighty spreadsheet, you will know that the Texans were always supposed to start off 0-3. And if you consult my spreadsheet and you look all the way at the end, you will see that the Texans will finish at 10-7. So, it all starts here. Home game against the Titans. It's just a tough beginning of the schedule. People panic. The offensive line is bad. You go up against three pretty good defenses. Surprising the Jaguars are a good defense, but that's a division game. It doesn't really matter. They are going to win this game, and they are going to prove that C.J. Stroud is not washed. They are going to be proving that Nico Collins is not washed. They're going to prove that that defense is, in fact, elite. Cam Ward will not have no answers for that defense. That defense will live in Cam Ward's nightmares. They will have no time to throw the ball. That running game will get nowhere. And I think this might be the biggest blowout of the week, Caleb. I know I just said there was a 35-3 score out there. I know I just said that. I think the Titans get shut out. And maybe by points-wise, it might not be the biggest blowout, but I'm going 28-0. Big win for the Houston Texans.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't quite have that. I do have the Titans getting a field goal. And I do have the Texans winning. The Texans are going to win this game. I can't see, well, I can see a world where the Titans find a way to put something together. It's division rivals. Happens all the time. I have them losing 3-17. Texans take it home. CJ Stroud finds a win. Gets some of the heat off his back because he's probably feeling pretty warm down there in Texas right now.
There is a lot of heat on his back down there in Texas. It's always hot down there. Everything's hotter in Texas, right? That's the phrase. Doesn't matter. Potential game of the week. I know we already went over one potential game of the week, but another one. Surprise, surprise. Indiana Jones. And the Indianapolis Colts travel to LA to take on Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and the Rams. Questionable is Devontae Adams. Jonathan Taylor, the leading rusher in the NFL. The Rams favored by 3.5 in this one after blowing a game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Both of these teams are great. Top 10 teams in the NFL. I want to say that the Colts will continue their Cinderella story. Scratch that. I don't want to say that. It's not going to happen. The Colts are not going to continue their Cinderella story. The Rams are too good. The Rams are a top 5 team in the NFL, and the Colts just simply are not. That defense isn't quite up to par. As good as that Colts team is, they're not ready to face a team like LA. They haven't faced a team like LA yet, and this is the first big challenge for them. I'm not saying that the Colts are bad. I'm not. They're a top 10 team in the NFL, are going to make the playoffs this year. But the Rams are a different beast. The Rams are on a whole nother level, and I'm taking the Rams to win this one. Not blowout fashion, but in a fashion that shows that the Colts aren't quite on the same level. We're going to go with 30-21.
All right, we're almost on the same page. I've got them 24-30, and I have the Rams winning. I think it'll be fun. As we know, the Colts like to score a lot of points, but they also like to give up a lot of points. So I think this game's going to be high scoring, and I just think the Rams can outduel the Colts. I think it's just a pretty simple close and shut case.
Couple more games left as we hit into the 4 o'clock slate here, Caleb. The Jacksonville Jaguars, big win coming up against the Houston Texans. Travel to take on San Francisco. Cross country, something you always have to take into consideration. Brock Purdy back under center for the San Francisco 49ers. The Jacksonville Jaguars need to get that offense going. Brian Thomas Jr. needs to have a big game if they're going to win it. No Nick Bosa means a lot for the Jags, but I think that cross-country travel is going to be too much. San Fran favored by 3.5 points in this game. If they get a win, I think the Jags cover. I think it's a 3-point victory. The 49ers have not shown the ability to run away with a game yet, and I don't think they're going to show that against the Jags, who have a really solid defense, like statistically a top 5 defense this year in the NFL so far. I think the Jags do lose. I think San Francisco comes out with a victory, but still going to be pretty close, going 24-21, San Francisco victory.
All right, I've got a San Francisco victory, but I've got this score 18-23.
Yeah.
I know it's an odd scoreline, it's a gross scoreline, but I think it can be a fun scoreline, and I think that could be a fun game to watch.
That's such a disgusting score. I love it. I really do. I love that, but it makes something retch inside of me hearing 18-23 in a football game. But you have to live. You have to move on. I've said game of the week twice now. You want to hear another one? 3 games of the week, boys. 3. Count them 1, 2, 3, and the third one. A battle between 2 1-2 teams? What's going on here in the NFL? Baltimore Ravens travel to Kansas City to take on those Kansas City Chiefs. The Baltimore Ravens favored on the road by 2.5 points. I tend to agree with Vegas on this one. Always good when you agree with Vegas because, Vegas always wins. Vegas always wins, and so do we. We're always right. The Baltimore Ravens here, I think this is going to be a game where they show that the Chiefs' offense just is really missing that weapon. Xavier Worthy probably going to play. That's a big thing to keep an eye on. I don't think Kansas City has the offensive line to move bodies like the Lions did against them, and I don't think they're going to have that issue again. Derrick Henry better not fumble. Otherwise, there's some real conversations that we're going to have about King Henry and what his role is in the team going forward. It's not going to stop him from being the lead back, but it is going to make it a lot harder for him to be that guy you rely upon going forward. I'm taking Baltimore. Big win. Potentially pushes Kansas City out of playoff contention with a loss here. I know it's early. I know, but still, it's tough to fall to 1-3 when you've got the Chargers, you've got the Broncos, and potentially even the Raiders ahead of you in that division. I'm taking the Birds, taking the Ravens. I think they win this game 31-24.
Well, you were kinder to the Chiefs than I'm going to be. I don't like the Chiefs. I don't think they're good this year. I think the Ravens are better than what their record says right now. I think the Chiefs pretty much land on their record right now, where they should be. I don't like them. I think that the one win against the Giants, I don't even think they should have won that game. The Giants just didn't look like they wanted to win that game themselves. That's on them. But I do have the Ravens winning, and I have them winning 33-13. It's a 20-point difference, and that is my biggest score difference of the week. And I did not think I would do it against the Chiefs.
That's kind of crazy. The Giants certainly didn't deserve to win that game either. They didn't want to win that game. So I think the Chiefs did deserve to win that game simply because they weren't the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football, and that's really all it took. Chicago travels to Las Vegas. Geno Smith desperately needs a win. They can't seem to get it done. They've played a couple of tough teams in Washington and the Chargers, and they just have not looked themselves. Chicago looking to build off of the momentum that they got last week. A big win for Caleb Williams, big win for Ben Johnson over the worst defense in the NFL in the Dallas Cowboys, who we'll get to next. Chicago and Las Vegas. Las Vegas favored at home, 1.5 points. Ooh, I talked about a tough one between the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots. This one could legitimately end up in a tie. I have no idea what's going to happen in this one. I lean towards the Bears. I just trust their defense a little bit more. I think outside of Max Crosby, they don't have much on that team going. But at the same time, I don't know if we're going to get good Caleb if he takes a sack, or we're going to get Caleb that has never taken a sack like we got last week. That's going to be the question. How is that Bears offensive line going to hold up? I don't know how well they're going to hold up, and I think Vegas probably gets it done. 26-24, final score prediction. I just think Max Crosby is going to cause too much havoc in that backfield.
Well, speaking of bad score predictions, so initially I did write down a final score of 20-20. That was my first thought. I I can't choose a team to win this game. But then I thought about it some more, and I really just kind of sat there and I went over the teams and what's weak, what's good, and I ended up setting a score of 19-23 with the Raiders winning. Um, it's an uglier scoreline than 18-23. But I still think it's going to be a good game, and yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes, and then we get to watch the Packers and
Sunday Night Football, Caleb. Packers travel to Cowboys. Micah Parsons returns to Jerry World on prime time. Wow. Script writers in the NFL cooked this year, right? That's crazy. Micah Parsons is going to eat. Dak Prescott is going to cry. No CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens, your number one wide receiver. Whew. I like George Pickens. It doesn't matter. That running game's not going to be able to get going. They can't run the ball. Josh Jacobs is going to feast. The Cowboys will be lucky if they score 10 points in this game. Green Bay is going to absolutely dominate. The question is their offense going to work? I don't know if their offense is going to work. Jordan Love loves to throw the ball downfield. And you know who's really good at giving up deep balls? It's the Dallas Cowboys. They are consistently giving up deep balls. You talk about Russell Wilson, 7 for 11 on throws of 20 or more yards down the field, 450 yards in the week that Russell Wilson looked good against the Dallas Cowboys. Caleb Williams bombed a flea flicker to Luther Burden deep down the field because Trayvon Diggs just doesn't know how to cover people. He's a ball hawk, but that's about it. And if you're nowhere near the ball, you can't hawk it. So Cowboys really play into Green Bay's strengths. And that is everything the Cowboys aren't. Green Bay wins massively. I'm not going to say they put up 40 points because that would be crazy for this team. But I will say they win 30-3. It's not going to be fun. You know what? I'll give the Cowboys a touchdown. 30-7.
all right. I mean, I've got a score line of 28-10. I don't think it's completely out of the realm. I've got the Cowboys getting a field goal and a touchdown. I think it's going to be a garbage time touchdown. I won't
How
lie.
generous.
I think it's going to be end of game, and they're just going to be looking to salvage something and just be like, screw it. I guess George Pickens is, if he doesn't get ejected first, he's down there somewhere. I mean, you just got to hope and pray type deal. Yeah, I mean, Dallas has not looked good. I mean, their offense is good at football, as we've said before, but their defense is bad at football. Kenny Clark's doing them no favors, and Micah Parsons is doing the Packers all the favors. So, yeah, it'll be fun to watch Dak Prescott run for his life.
He's going to be running for his life. For sure. God, I don't really know if I want to talk about these Monday night games. This might be the worst Monday night slate in the history of the NFL. The 0-3 New York Jets travel to Miami to face the 0-3 Miami Dolphins. Tickets in that game, I want you to guess what the entry fee is for that. Just the lowest ticket. What do you think it is? I will say the lowest ticketed game on all of Sunday as of right now, surprisingly, it's the Colts and the Rams at $45, okay? That's the cheapest ticket on Sunday, Caleb. What do you think the price of admission is for the Dolphins and the Jets on Monday Night Football?
Hopefully it's a little bit more than what I paid for my Panthers Falcons tickets a couple of years ago in 23 when those teams were both terrible, and I paid $1.40 for my ticket. I have a feeling. Well, it's a Monday night game, so it's got to bring the price up just a little bit. But I think the ticket prices is probably like $22 right about now.
Very close. $27 to get into an NFL game in Miami, I might add, on a Monday night. Destination. If you ever want to visit Hard Rock Stadium, now's the time to go. Enjoy the Dolphins and the Jets. That is going to be a game of all time. God, the Dolphins win because they're at home. They're favored by 2.5 points. The Jets looked really good under Tyrod last week. I don't think Tyrod starts if Justin Fields is healthy. It's a big if. It's going to be a game-time decision. I still think the Dolphins take this one. They both looked a lot better this week, but at home, God, this game is going to be bad. Dolphins win 17-13.
Is this a bad time to say that's more points than I have scored in this game? Because I have a score of 10-3. And the Dolphins win 10-3. I can't see a world. I mean, unless these defenses just let up monster plays. I mean, what is the only chance for high scorers is Devon Achane.
God, you're taking them back to 1890s football with that score. Oh my God.
I hope I'm right.
Oh my God, that's disgusting. You know what? I can see it. That's the bad part. Last game of the week. This one could be kind of fun. It's not going to be Jets versus Dolphins for sure. The Cincinnati Bengals, the fighting Jake Brownings. They travel to Denver to take on Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. So here's what we've got. We've got a really bad defense against a really bad defense. And we have a really inconsistent quarterback against a really inconsistent offense. And also quarterback. God. Jake Browning is Jameis Winston light. I think that's a very good comparison for him. This could be a shootout. Denver wins this game pretty easy. They're favored by 7.5. Cincinnati maybe puts up a little bit more of a fight than they did against Minnesota, but these are two straight tough defenses, so who knows? Maybe we get another 48-10 game like it was last time. I'm thinking a little bit closer. I think that offense isn't nearly as potent for Denver as it is for Minnesota. Final score prediction here in the final game of Week 4. Denver, 27. The Cincinnati Bengals, 10.
Okay. One thing to think about is Jake Browning does lead the NFL in interceptions right now.
I will add 1.5 games.
He's thrown 5 interceptions. So I can't see a world where the Bengals put up any large number of points unless Jake Browning becomes Jameis Winston when he threw 30 for 30. And he's going to need to pick up the pace on the touchdown side of it. He's 3 for 5. It's not great. However, in a game and a half, I mean, you have one bad game, you throw 4 interceptions in one game, whatever. You figure it out. I do have the Broncos winning. I do have a scoreline of 13-27. I think Broncos can win. I mean, it's going to be rough for the Bengals through the stretch of this part of the season until they get Joe Burrow back. And even then, that late in the season, you start asking questions of whether or not you even put him back in. I mean, but that's a topic for future us in 2.5 months at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. It depends where their record is. That's the answer to that question. If they're in contention, he plays. If not, he sits. But that is the NFL for you. Let us know what your guys' thoughts are. Tell us how right we are. Tell us where you think we're wrong. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But thank you.
We're never wrong.
We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, time for college football game picks. Caleb Carney is gone. Thank you for joining us on the show today. We will be back with him next Friday doing some more game picks. But we'll be right back here on the Triple Threat Show. Welcome back to the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you were just tuning in, we just finished going over Week 4 NFL game picks. In this segment, we turn our attention to the world of college football. A lot to like here. There are two massive games going on. One of the ones I wanted to highlight we'll get to right away, actually, because this one I'm super excited for, and I'm glad it's close because I don't know if you'll believe me or not, but this is a game that I knew would be close. Florida State versus UVA in Virginia, currently tied at 28-28. Virginia has the ball in the fourth quarter. They are driving. 4th and 1 at the FSU 24. I believe they're going to take the lead right now, which would be insane. If they win this game, it might be the biggest win in the history of the Who's football. I still think Florida State will win this game, but UVA was always going to put up a fight, and I'm glad we're seeing that because this is a good team led by quarterback Chandler Morris. The way that he is playing football, that offense is elite. The defense, more of a question, but we are going to see a very, very good UVA team, and I believe, I truly do, as they pick up a first down on 4th down, huge pickup for them. They're going to be able to run more clock and get a big potential touchdown score here. God, they're in the red zone. I might have to change my pick. I can't do that. It's against the rules. No changing picks. Taking Florida State to win this one, but Virginia covers that 7.5. The other game going on right now, TCU at Arizona State. Arizona State favored by 3.5 in this one. TCU ranked number 24 in the nation. That is an interesting game because TCU is getting a lot of love, as they deserve. Arizona State, after a loss to a good Mississippi State team, is not getting a lot of love. And that's not to say that they should be in the top 25, but they should be given more love than I think more people are giving them. I think Arizona State finds a way to win this game, but TCU should keep it close. I still think the underdog covers by 3.5 in this one. Notre Dame traveling to Arkansas. Notre Dame favored by 4.5 points in this game. Notre Dame has not won against quality teams yet. They're 1-2 on the year. They've lost to 2 top 10 opponents in Texas A&M by 1 point and Miami by less than 1 score in week one of the college football season. The Razorbacks, nothing to scoff at, but they're really up and down. Quarterback Talon Green can either be an NFL-style quarterback or he can be, well, just a college-level quarterback. It's really up and down with this team. They had a bad week last week, which means they're probably due for a good week this week, but I do think Notre Dame locks in. Their defense is a concern, but CJ Carr is good enough to get them through this. I'm taking Notre Dame and the points. They get a big win. Duke favored by 4.5 at Syracuse. Syracuse loses quarterback Steve Angeli. That's a huge loss after a massive win at Clemson. That is a game that I think they don't win without Steve Angeli, and I don't think they do it again. And if Angeli is able to go, which he's not going to be able to, it's a different story. But I'm taking Duke to win this one. But again, like I said last show, the one thing I've been wrong about is Duke every single time. So that is something to maybe fade me on. I'm taking Duke to win this game. Number 1, Ohio State, favored by 7.5 points, travels to Washington. Road game for Julian Sayin and the Buckeyes, a team that has not quite looked super competent on offense, and a Washington team that's nothing to scoff at. They're going to play this game close. I think Washington puts Ohio State a little bit on upset alert, but at the end of the day, I think that Buckeye defense is just too much for Washington to handle, and I think Ohio State escapes with a win and keeps that number 1 spot overall in the world of college football. Couple more games to run through before we get to my top 6 games of the week. Georgia Southern at James Madison, a little bit of candy for me personally. JMU's going to win this game, but Georgia Southern has won 9 of the last 10 matchups. Georgia Southern has been the one team ever since moving to the FBS has given JMU problems. This is by no means going to be easy. I'm taking Georgia Southern with the points, but I'm taking JMU on the money line. Indiana, number 11 in the nation. Shout out Indiana, takes on Iowa. Iowa, big win. Got some offense going against Rutgers. I don't think they get it going. Indiana dominates. They win huge in this one. They dropped 63 points on Illinois, an Illinois team that is still ranked right now, as Virginia just takes the lead on a touchdown, 34-28 with 7 minutes and 24 seconds to go in this game. That is a huge play for Chandler Morris, who has now rushed for 3 touchdowns on 5 carries. What a game for Virginia. What a game tonight as FSU looks like they are in big trouble to fall to the unranked Hoos. I'm taking JMU, and I'm taking Indiana to win big. They're favored by 7.5 points. But I got 6 games that I circled this week. 4 of them are top 25 versus top 25 matchups. We'll start off with the one I'm the least interested in. USC travels to Illinois. USC number 21 in the nation, Illinois number 23. USC favored by 6.5 points in this one. USC rolls. I think the Trojans are just that good. This is a very, very good offensive. This is a very good team. I think defensively, Illinois just does not quite have it. They gave up a lot of points to Indiana, and I think USC is going to be able to take advantage of that in a close one. I don't think 6.5 points is enough, but I'm taking USC, Illinois to cover. Number 4, LSU travels to number 13, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is favored in this one. Okay, here's the thing. Here's what I will say. Ole Miss is nothing, is not quite the level of team that I think we are. LSU, Garrett Nussmeier's been struggling, but that defense has been elite. I don't think Ole Miss has the answers for it. I think LSU wins this one pretty comfortably. Unranked Auburn travels to number 9, Texas A&M. A&M favored by 6.5 points overall. These are two teams that generally lose these games. Injuries after a physical game for Auburn against Oklahoma. I think Texas A&M takes advantage of that, and they stay in the top 10 with a big win. Number 15, Tennessee, favored by 7.5, traveling to Mississippi State, a place where Arizona State went down, a good team. Mississippi State is for real this year. Do not sleep on that environment over in Mississippi. I do think that Tennessee wins, but it's going to be very close, and I think they might have to walk it off on a field goal kind of situation. And the two biggest games of Week 5 in college football, James Franklin and the third-ranked Penn State third-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions host number 6 Oregon in a whiteout under the lights, a game that James Franklin has yet to win, a big one. If he can pull this off, this might be Penn State's year. Do I think they're going to pull it off? Got bad news for your Penn State friends. Oregon and the Ducks, I think, take care of business. I don't quite think that the curse of James Franklin in big games is going to be broken this year. I love the way that Oregon's been playing, and Penn State has yet to face a challenge this year. It's tough to open up the Big Ten slate against a great team like the Ducks. And finally, game of the year, potentially. Number 17, Alabama, travels to number 5, Georgia, to take on the Bulldogs. Kirby Smart has historically struggled against the Alabama Crimson Tide, but Alabama has not won in Georgia in 33 games. One of those streaks is going to break. I think Alabama gets a big win against Georgia. I just love the way that they've been playing football. I'm not a big fan of Georgia's offense. Their defense, elite as always, but I think the way that Alabama's playing ball, they're going to be able to get it done. I'm leaning with the Tide. I am rolling with the Tide. I'll run through my picks one more time. Taking USC over Illinois, LSU over Ole Miss, Texas A&M over Auburn, Tennessee over Mississippi State, Oregon over Penn State, Alabama over Georgia, Florida State over UVA, Arizona State over TCU. I am taking Notre Dame over Arkansas, Duke over Syracuse, Ohio State over Washington, Arizona over Iowa State in an upset over there, JMU over Georgia Southern, and number 11, Indiana with a big win over Iowa. But give me your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. And thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Triple Threat Show. We will be back on Tuesday. Again, in the morning, we're switching up our schedule a little bit, going to Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. So you'll catch us bright and early. Start your day with the Triple Threat Show. We'll be back then. Bye-bye.